Hey, what's up, beautiful people? It is Shower Guy, and you're tuned in to Lauren and PJ Do Science. Today, they're talking about mRNA Part 2. Galileo, Newton's laws, Darwin writes on nature flaws, Curie, radium, and X-ray beams, Einstein relativity, Watson, Crick, and DNA, black holes, Hawking, math, Copernicus redraws a path. Lauren and PJ do science. She's got a doctorate, he's got a beat in lyrics. Lauren and PJ do science. Yeah, he's a broke musician, and she's gonna teach him. And now, here's Lauren and PJ. Hey, thanks, Shower Guy. And yeah, we're here with part 2 of our mRNA discussion. So, of course, I am PJ, and hailing from the other side of the internet is Dr. Lauren. Dr. Lauren, how are you today?
Oh, I'm hanging in there, PJ. It's that time of the semester where everything starts to go sideways. So hopefully I'll see you on the other side of it with my sanity intact.
Hopefully, we got a show to do, so we have to educate the people. Bring science to the masses. Science is real, people, and we're bringing it to you live. Well, on podcast, not live, but you get the idea.
Right. Well, I have to fulfill my mission, so I can't completely go off the deep end yet. But I do have a nervous breakdown scheduled for sometime in the summer, so
that's fine. Summer is okay as long. Look, we all know your mission is helping Pinky and the Brain achieve world domination, so as long as you can do that, then everything will be fine.
They couldn't do a worse job than whatever the hell is going on right now, so...
No, in fact, I for one, welcome our new mouse overlords.
I like cheese.
Yeah, narf. Anyway, let's get talking about... Look, we are so old. Holy crap, are we old?
We are.
The brain. God. Anyway, let's get back to talking about mRNA instead of our ages, because, yeah, yikes. Terrifying to think about. Oh, my God. Actually, a small diversion. I was talking to Cedar, the stage manager for my show, and he says, yeah, I just started listening to Fall Out Boy, which is kind of weird because it took me years to listen to. He's like 20 years old, right? 19, 20, 21, somewhere in that range. And yeah. I started to put it into my, like, together in my head. When I was 20 years old, it was a little bit before that, obviously, middle school and high school, but whatever. You do the math from when Fall Out Boy came out and whatnot. That same time span of when I was Cedar's age, I was picking up bands like Led Zeppelin and Pink Floyd, stuff that we think of as old then. Now that we think of them as really old, but the stuff to the 20 years olds is old music now.
Yeah.
So they're kind of treating like Fall Out Boy and groups of that ilk as kind of the classic rock genre for us, it's horrifying.
Yeah, like Nirvana and the Smashing Pumpkins and other stuff that we grew up listening to as kids is now like classic rock. Like Green Day is on like the classic rock station. And I don't feel very comfortable with that at all.
No, forget about the early 90s. Like, Nirvana is going to be on the oldies station next time we turn it on.
And like, I grew up listening to a lot of classic rock and prog rock. My dad had a really nice vinyl collection, which I have inherited. And so I grew up listening to the Beatles and Led Zeppelin and Pink Floyd and being, I guess, kind of a weird kid for getting into that stuff earlier than everybody else discovered it. I was into it before it was cool. And now, like, I see my students getting into the music that I listen to at their age and younger and being like, yeah, this is some really good old stuff. And I'm,
it's mental.
I don't know.
Like, you think about it, John Lennon was shot only a couple years before we were born. But
yes,
it was like an entire generation, like almost 2 generations really ago to the kids, like, coming up in school today.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, time is weird, man. Time is weird. And I think one day we need to have some sort of astrophysicist on the show to just blow our minds about how time works and how it's like a looping kind of weird, just jumble of stuff. because that's what I understand at time. It's just it's stuff. It's just like you take one of those like slime balls and you chuck it against the wall, and that's time.
And we perceive it as being linear, but it's not.
Anything but.
Speaking. Yeah. I think it would be really cool to do like an extended series on space and astrophysics related stuff, quantum physics related stuff. Because like I could talk about astrobiology and the origin of life on Earth for quite a while, but the astrophysics stuff I know just enough to get into trouble. So we would have to outsource a little bit of that discussion, but I think we should for sure.
I mean, well, one day we'll be big enough. We'll get Neil deGrasse Tyson on the show, and he'll lecture us on all that stuff. But yeah, it's all that stuff is like just a subject I've always found really fascinating and have studied a little bit on. Probably not enough to be dangerous, but enough to like hold my own at sci-fi conventions. So you see me in my red shirt at the Trekkie convention and talk to me about science.
Well, if I'm going to be at a conference in New Orleans. It's the American Geophysical Union conference. Not next week, but the following week. And if I run into any of my astrobiology, astrophysics friends there, which I most certainly will, I'll see who's up for some cool discussions on the podcast. I think a few of them might be.
Yeah, I was going to say you have two missions for that. One, make friends, and two, spread words about the podcast.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Oh, and three, obviously, eat beignets.
Oh, yeah, you're New Orleans, yep. Beignets, you got to go to Café du Monde. You have to go there. And,
yeah.
Use the back door, though. That's the little secret. Use the back door, because there's never any line on the back door. It's always the front door that has all the tourists there. But
yeah.
It's
always crowded.
Cool. Yeah, it's like Gideon's Bakehouse at Disney Springs, where you can't get in line there. Like, you have to get a virtual reservation, and your reservation time is like 2 hours later to come back to shop at a freaking bakehouse. Like, I'm not waiting. I know they're good, but I'm not waiting 2 hours to get cookies. So what the locals do and what the smart people do is drive up to their location in Winter Park, which is 40 minutes away, give or take, maybe an hour, and go to Gideon's Bakehouse there, where there's no line. It's like the back door of Café du Monde. So, smart tip for all our local Florida friends. So, probably at least one subscriber down there. Anyway, enough of that talk. On back to the original topic at hand, mRNA. So, one thing I do want to introduce on the show is listener mailbag, where obviously we want you guys to comment on the episodes and ask questions, and if you're curious about things, figure stuff out. But I also had a couple questions as well, and one of the ones I came up with, and I did kind of spoil this for you, so I'm not really putting you on the spot because you had a chance to think about this. But one I thought of was, it had to do with folding of proteins, and you mentioned if a protein folds wrong, it's a mutation, right?
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah.
Could we consider these mutations as something driving evolution? Like, we know with evolution where it's survival of the fittest, the strongest genes and most useful adaptable genes, et cetera, drive the modifications that kind of brought us like from being little single-celled organism amoebas into fully fleshed human beings, and God only knows what's next, like some collective hive mind like the Borg in a billion years from now, whatever. But I was thinking, right, from apes to humans, because we're very closely, what do we have, like 99% DNA or something crazy like that in common with them?
Greater than that, yeah.
Yeah, it's some ridiculous amount. Like, looking into a ape's eyes really freaks me out because I see almost like human eyes staring back at me. It's really weird. All right, so anyway, where I'm at with this is, my theory is, and tell me if I'm right, one ape gene folded weird, and that's how we got to like Homo sapien, Homo erectus, blah, 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 so on and so forth. So, would I technically be a mutated ape? And therefore, in the ape community, could I consider myself one of the X-Men? Am I an ape X-Men?
Okay.
Do I get to walk around like an ape sanctuary in my yellow leotard, screaming and yelling and, whatever my mutant ape power is? I know I'm weaker than them, but like, I could have uses in the ape community, so I would be one of their mutated
So-
X-Men. The Wolverine of
Okay,
apes, if you will, as
to-
hairy as I am.
Let's just kind of recap the central dogma, right? So you've got DNA, which contains all of the instructions for making a living thing, which is transcribed into mRNA, the subject of our series right now. So mRNA is like the short set of instructions for a specific thing. And then that mRNA is translated into a protein, which then folds into the correct shape in order to do its job. And that could be carrying out a reaction in the cell. It could be a structural protein for building things. It could be a transporter. It could be a signaling molecule. It could be all kinds of different stuff. So the basic gist of it is that the collection of all of this genetic information that codes for all of these different functions makes you you. And changes in that code are selected for by natural selection and lead to speciation. So, yes, mutations drive evolution. So, the short answer is yes, you could be considered a mutant ape. Except, like,
Yes.
basically, enough mutations occur in a population over time until they have become sufficiently different from the original population to be considered a new species. And that's how species arise. And this is this basically what Darwin's work in the Galapagos was. He was looking at different groups of organisms and how they were similar, but how they had these slight adaptations that allowed them to survive the pressures of living in the Galapagos, eating different diets, for example. And that is how they separated from an original common ancestor into different species. So yeah, human beings arose from some ape-like ancestor that we have in common with chimpanzees and other apes. We are very, very genetically similar to chimpanzees. It's greater than 99%, but we're also about 50% genetically similar to bananas. So we share common ancestors with plants too.
Yeah, and I swear I read something somewhere where we're like 90% similar to cabbage, or I don't know. It was some ridiculous thing.
But yeah, you go back far enough.
Yeah, it was related to a plant.
If you go back far enough, I mean, we're not completely sure of it, but the origin of life led to the evolution of some last universal common ancestor from which all life on Earth evolved. And so if you go back far enough, you can find a common ancestor between us and, say, octopi or trees or a fungus. You know, it's all in how far back you go. So yeah, I think you should get the yellow suit, start hanging out with the apes. That's what I think.
Okay, good. I like that. Technically, I'm a different species, but I'm an ape X-Men. But if you think about it, the X-Men could be considered different species from human too.
It depends on your definition of species. Like, can X-Men breed with normal humans?
Yeah.
But then in that case, they're the same species as us. It's just like wolves and dogs.
Oh.
You know, they're a different breed of human or subspecies of human, maybe, but not a different species altogether.
So the answer is sort of yes and no, but that's fine though, because like apes are way stronger than me, so I wouldn't survive in that. Like they would look at me like a complete useless mutant X-Men, because I'm not as strong as an ape. I can't throw my poop very far.
No, but I mean, I suppose you have other
kids. Don't experiment with throwing your poop.
You have other advantages over the ape.
I mean, they can use tools. I can kind of use tools. I have the power of speech, but that kind of harms me because I can't talk to them unless I learn sign language or I become like Tarzan. Okay. So follow-up question to that then. Since we established that sort of yes, but not really, right? that I'm an X-Men ape. What if we go back a long time ago to a galaxy far, far away, right? Midichlorians.
Oh boy.
Okay. And some neckbeard is probably going to kind of add us with the midichlorians and say, all right, midichlorians are symbiotic like organisms that live inside of us, right? What if we folded proteins and stuff to rid ourselves of these midichlorians, and eventually that gave way to earthbound species? For instance, what I'm trying to get at is, can we use your theories about mRNA and all the science behind that to technically prove that Star Wars is a documentary, not just a movie? Can we get there? I think we can get there, because I mean, long time ago, galaxy far, far away, right? Sure, we had humans and all kinds of different species, and they had to throw a bunch of crap out into the space somehow. So what if, like, I don't know, a poop log from Coruscant got ejected into space, wound up on Earth, and the microbes from that gave way to Earth, but they saw on Earth that it was kind of useless to have force powers, so that's why the proteins didn't fold and give us force powers, thus rendering midichlorians useless.
I hate the midichlorian explanation for the Force. I hate it so viscerally. I do. Because, okay, so hot take here. I'm coming in hot. There's two kinds of science fiction that I enjoy. And one is the kind that is very well researched and very grounded in reality, to the point where you go, that could make sense. The person who wrote this knows what they're talking about. And it's grounded enough in reality that you can imagine it occurring at some point. And there's some very good sci-fi out there like that. And then the other kind is the kind where it's like, we don't really care about the science because we're too busy thinking about other stuff. Like Dune is a great example of science fiction that really does not explain any of the science. Like, there's a lot of great ecology in it, and there's some stuff about like astrophysics and like folding space, but a lot of it is just hand-wavy magic. The spice is magic, and that is perfectly okay. I was okay with the Force being like chi or whatever, and not explained by science, and making it some kind of like symbiotic bacteria. One, makes absolutely no sense, and two, just was completely unnecessary. So
no, I'm with you there 100%. I mean, if you look at George Lucas's, and again, we're going to go off on a side quest here, but if you look at his like kind of original build for the show and the lore of the Jedi and the lore of the Sith and all that, it's very heavily influenced by Japanese culture.
It's a Kurosawa film in space.
That's where I'm kind of and that's where I'm kind of guessing he got the midichlorians from, is using the principle of Shinto, where there's something inside everyone and all those things relate to each other. So he's like, oh, okay, well, that can be midichlorians. I thought it was dumb as hell too. I can kind of get there what he was going at by tying it back to Japan. But if you don't have that level of thinking, where, like you said, it is a Kurosawa film space, then you're like, the hell's a midichlorian? How do they go from space wizards to like, oh, we're being controlled by bacteria?
I liked it better when it was just magic. And I feel like over exposition can really kill the magic, and it's hard to even argue that Star Wars is science fiction. It's more like a space opera. It's not
space opera.
It just happens to be occurring in space, but there's very little science happening, which is fine, which is totally fine. I don't have a problem with that. I love things to do with magic and fantasy and stuff like that. I'm a huge Tolkien fan, always have been. I think it's okay to have some stuff that doesn't have a scientific explanation. And if you're trying to write a scientific explanation but you don't know anything about science, you're just going to wind up sounding dumb. And so I don't want to prove that midichlorians are real because I think they're stupid. So
Okay, well, let me
Yeah.
go here with it, okay? Like, kind of wrapping back to the original question. There's no
No.
magic bacteria, right? Like, no bacteria with telekinesis. But you didn't say that it couldn't have been possible where the proteins on Coruscant folded to develop telekinesis powers, and some Jedi flushes a toilet and his turd gets ejected into space, lands on Earth, and the midichlorians get here and say, oh, we're kind of useless. So they just take themselves completely out of the picture, and that's why we don't have Jedi powers. So it still could conceivably be a documentary.
Hold on a second. If we're gonna go down, you want to go down this road? Let's go down this road. Okay.
Should we say this for a whole episode?
We can come back to it in a whole episode, but now you've got me on this topic, and I have to finish the thought.
I've opened
up the can of worms, and now
okay,
you're just gonna have to deal with it. So
I'm just playing devil's advocate here. I'm just playing the devil's advocate.
Star Wars, the original trilogy, in Star Wars, there's this concept that Luke's family has this really strong connection to the Force. So clearly, it's a hereditary skill, right? The Force is strong in his family. Leia has it at the end of Return of the Jedi. Like, she's comes to the realization that she's Luke's sister, which is a whole nother thing. But, like, clearly she could also have these Force powers, right? So it's a hereditary thing, which would imply that there is some gene or genes that if you have the Force allele, the Force mutation, that you have these abilities. So yes, it is possible that whenever humans came to Earth from a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, they lost that mutation, or it just never made it here, or whatever. It doesn't have to be explained by magic bacteria, because that doesn't make any sense.
Okay, so yes, I'm gonna write this up to a yes, but no. I think we need to do a whole episode on it, science fiction and bacteria in general, and uncover the truth behind this. But right now, I'm gonna write down another
I
yes,
could
but
talk
no
a lot about how badly bacteria are represented in a lot of science fiction. There's a Doctor Who episode in particular that to this day, whenever I think about it, it makes me cringe so hard I throw my back out. It's one of the Peter Capaldi episodes, and it has to do with bacteria on the moon, and it drives me absolutely bonkers. So maybe we'll do an episode on that.
Yeah, but Peter Capaldi was so good. He was so good.
I think he's a great actor, but I
loved him.
His Doctor Who.
He was a real dick. But I think he was aware of how much, kind of like House. Well, no, House wasn't aware of how much of a dick he was. But I think at least Peter Capaldi's doctor was aware of his dickness.
We are going to get off on so many tangents here if we keep in this line of thinking. Let's table it. We have not even begun to talk about the topic that we were supposed to talk about today.
I know. All right. So back to the mRNA topic at hand and application. So, one thing I did want to ask, and a serious question here is, I was thinking of songs for the playlist. I can sadly only come up with one other one, even though there's a million others. But, I do as I do some evenings, and I take a gummy and I put on some fish, and a song came on called Golgi Apparatus. And I looked up what Golgi Apparatus was, and it seemed applicable to what we're talking about. So could you explain that, just maybe a quick 5 minutes on that? Sure. If it relates. If it relates.
I'm sorry, somebody just knocked on my window and scared the crap out of me. He delights in scaring me while I'm in the middle of working. It's one of my colleagues from down the hall. So Golgi Apparatus. Sorry. So the Golgi Apparatus, again, so I'm a microbiologist, and I do not deal with the so-called higher organisms that have a nucleus and organelles and all that junk, but maybe I should explain that first. So bacteria are very simple-celled organisms compared to animals and plants and fungi. Their cells don't have a nucleus. They don't have organelles like the mitochondria, right? The endoplasmic reticulum, the Golgi apparatus, all the stuff that you have to learn in school when you learn the structure of the cell. But they do have ribosomes, and ribosomes are the things that make proteins. They're like this special structure that's made up of protein and a special type of RNA called ribosomal RNA, and they are the machinery that makes proteins. And this will come up again when we talk about the mRNA related stuff in a little bit. So the Golgi apparatus is an organelle in the cells of complex organisms like animals and plants and fungi that's responsible for protein packaging and sending the protein to the correct part of the cell. So in, for example, a human cell, we talked about how the DNA is kept in the nucleus, and then it's transcribed into mRNA, and then that mRNA is sent out of the nucleus to the ribosomes, and the ribosomes take that mRNA transcript and use it as instructions to make proteins. So those ribosomes in a human cell sit on this structure called the endoplasmic reticulum. And then the protein is transported from the endoplasmic reticulum, where it's made, to the Golgi apparatus, where it can be further processed and sent to the part of the cell where it is needed to do its job. So it's kind of like the distribution center of the cell.
Like the Amazon warehouse.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if I'm following then, the DNA creates the mRNA, more or less. They ship it to Amazon, right? So like they're the guys who make I just ordered a new USB cable. So they're the guys who make the USB cable. They send it to Amazon. Amazon's the Golgi apparatus because they're handling the packaging and shipping and saying it goes here, it goes there, wherever. The ribosome is the Amazon delivery dude who runs to my house.
No. The
Okay.
ribosome is the factory that makes the USB cable.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. So that they work in the cell like building or whatever, I guess. Okay, so the ribosome ships it to Amazon. The Golgi apparatus is Amazon, and then they give it to. Oh, I know you said it. Crap. Well, I'm thinking of the dudes like we talked about last week who like see the jobs on the job board and pick them off.
Oh no, it's not. No, it's not really like that. They're in other words.
Okay.
Like so, the ribosomes take the transcripts as instructions to make a protein. So they're grabbing these instructions and making proteins as the instructions come in. So they're picking jobs. Then those proteins get sent to the Golgi apparatus where they get tagged and sent out.
Okay. So the proteins are like the product.
Yes, the proteins are the product.
Okay. All right. So the proteins are the USB cable. Got it. Anyway, it's been almost a half hour, so why don't we talk mRNA applications? It's the main point of this episode. Sound good?
Well, okay. So the main reason why I wanted to talk about mRNA for our first couple of episodes is because all of a sudden in the last couple of years, suddenly a whole bunch of people have started talking about mRNA, and they've never even thought about mRNA before, or maybe even heard of mRNA. And the reason why is because of the COVID vaccine.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to talk a little bit about how an mRNA-based vaccine works and why they're safe.
Maybe jumping the gun a little bit, but how long have mRNA vaccines been around?
We've been working on them for a while, like at least since the aughts.
Okay.
So the technology for making mRNA vaccines did not suddenly appear when COVID-19 happened. We had already been working on making mRNA vaccines for other stuff.
So some people may have an mRNA vaccine and were like, I don't want to get the COVID vaccine because it's mRNA, and they just didn't even realize it.
Well, no. So there were a lot of other mRNA vaccines in development that were in trials. I want to say that the COVID vaccine, though, was the first, fully developed, out and available to the general public mRNA vaccine. But now others are being developed for other things.
Gotcha. Okay. Anyway, back to where you were going. I know I jumped the gun a little bit there.
Yeah. So in order to talk about mRNA vaccines, I kind of have to talk about vaccines in general and how they work. And we could probably do an entire episode just on vaccines and why they're good. But essentially what a vaccine does is it teaches your body to recognize a disease. So your immune system basically has two different modes. There is your what's called innate immunity, which you have since before you're born. You have it as a fetus in the womb, and basically what its job is to identify anything that does not belong in your body and destroy it. And that immune system, that part of your immune system is always on, but it has no memory. It doesn't learn to recognize certain things. All it knows is this belongs here, this does not belong here. And if it finds something that doesn't belong, it destroys it. The other part of your immunity is your adaptive immunity, and that is the immunity that you develop over the course of your lifetime from the moment you're born. You start getting your adaptive immunity through breastfeeding, through acquiring antibodies from your mom, and by interacting with your environment, from your food, from touching stuff, putting your hands in your mouth, because that's what babies do, right? They're always like putting their hands and their feet in their mouths, right? So everything that you interact with, every time you take something new into your body, you're training your immune system to recognize and fight different threats.
See, and they said that my autism was caused due to me eating lead paint as a kid. I'm protected against lead paint because I ate a lot of it. Look, man, it was the 80s. We all ate lead paint and glue, okay?
If only it worked that way, but it only works.
Besides, we all know that my autism came because my mother took Tylenol when she was pregnant, and I actually made a T-shirt that said my mother took Tylenol when she was pregnant, and all I got is encyclopedic knowledge of trains. So,
we should probably do a whole other episode on autism, or at least
I'd love to.
I could direct people to a really great video on autism and vaccines that's on YouTube. It was made by H. Bomber Guy. That is absolutely incredible because he goes through why people started linking vaccines to autism and how it all comes back to this one study that has been completely debunked. And he goes through all of the reasons why the study was not only faulty, but literally like child abuse. And it's so well done. We should put the link in the description because it's an amazing video. It's long, but it's really entertaining. I've watched it several times because I've learned so much from it. It's so well done. But anyway, so back to your immunity. So your adaptive immunity has a memory. Your body will store the memory of having encountered a disease so that if it encounters it again, it can fight that disease. And that way, your immune system can fight invaders, and you'll never even know that you encountered them because you don't get sick. So for example, chickenpox, right? You and I were born before the chickenpox vaccine became a thing.
Yeah.
Did you have chickenpox as a kid?
I did. I didn't go to a chickenpox party, but I got it.
Same. I got it because I went over my friend's house and her sister had it. And she had already had it, so she wasn't at risk. I didn't interact with her sister, but I still caught it. So I had chickenpox. So now I have chickenpox immunity because I've had chickenpox. But now there's a chickenpox vaccine, which is better than developing immunity from getting chickenpox because it reduces your chance of having a chickenpox flare-up later in life, which is what shingles is.
Yeah.
Shingles is your body having a flare up of this virus, which you had years before that never completely went away. It just went dormant in your body. And if you didn't develop sufficient immunity to it, it flares up again as shingles, and it can be really debilitating.
Yeah,
So
and
the
I
fact
hate to
that
say it, but we're getting to that age where y'all need to get your shingles vaccines, kids.
yes, if you have not been immunized against chickenpox, you need to get a shingles vaccine, and that includes if you've had chickenpox as a kid, because if you had a mild case of chickenpox, you're more at risk for developing shingles later because your body did not develop the full immunity against the virus. So it's just hanging out, lying dormant, waiting to flare up again in your nervous system.
Yeah, and mine was pretty weak. Like it was kind of lame. It was just like, all right, oatmeal baths are good.
Yeah.
So
yeah, mine wasn't that bad.
Yep, I'll be getting that one.
Yeah. So, similarly, this is actually how vaccines were originally developed. Was Edward Jenner noticed that dairy maids who had had cowpox, which is a virus that's related to smallpox, but not as severe, not as deadly. Dairy maids who had had cowpox were naturally immune to smallpox. So he invented the first vaccine by exposing people to the cowpox virus to make them immune to smallpox. Before he developed this vaccine, smallpox immunizations involved taking pus from a person who was infected with smallpox, so taking the pus from the pustules that they broke out in, cutting a healthy person's skin and smearing the pus into the cut to expose the person to the virus so that they would develop immunity against smallpox. Yeah.
Oh, no.
It was effective, though. It worked. The problem was that in some cases, the person who was getting immunized would develop a full-blown case of smallpox and then die. Jenner's brilliance was in realizing that if you expose somebody to a related virus that's not as dangerous, they could still develop the immunity, and you didn't risk their life by exposing them to this deadly virus. We've basically eradicated smallpox because we have a vaccine against it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that wiped out, a ton of people.
Yes. Smallpox breakouts decimated populations. Throughout human history, there were multiple smallpox epidemics. There was one during the Revolutionary War here in America. And people were getting immunized the old-fashioned way by smearing pus from an infected person into a cut. And it worked, but it was dangerous. So the idea is that you're exposing your body to a version of the disease that is less likely to cause harm, but still able to train the body to recognize the disease later on. So in most cases today, if you get vaccinated against something, it's either against a weakened version of the disease, so it's still alive, but it can't actually make you full-blown sick. A dead version of the disease, so it's killed completely. It can't actually cause disease, but your body can still recognize it. Or like in the case of the smallpox vaccine, a related version of the disease that causes a less serious version of the illness.
Right, and then cells look at that and say, we got this, and then they know how to fight it from then on.
Right. Or you can also have like parts of a infectious agent in a vaccine, but not the whole thing. So for example, a protein that infectious agent makes and has on the outside of it, like a protein on the outside of a virus, for example. You could make a vaccine out of that, and then your immune system recognizes that protein, and then later on, when it sees the disease with that protein on the outside of it, it goes, oh, I've seen this before, this doesn't belong here, and it's immediately able to generate a response and wipe it out before it can actually make you sick.
Nice.
So the thing is about vaccines, since most of us were vaccinated as babies and children, we've probably been exposed to all sorts of different things and never knew that we were even exposed to it because the vaccine is working.
And we grew up in Jersey, so we are vaccinated against radiation. And
yes.
chemicals and toxic fumes, and basically we could walk into a nuclear power plant and be fine.
Yeah, for fun, sometimes we just turn the lights off and watch each other glow.
Yeah. That's how we knew everybody got excited. Their glow like brightened. That's where the term "the glow" came from. We knew. Oh, we knew. Every time someone came out, every time your roommate came out from under their room, we knew in the dark.
The glow up.
Yep.
So, mRNA vaccines, how do they work? So,
Yes.
mRNA is the instructions for making a protein. An mRNA vaccine just contains the instructions for making part of the COVID virus in this case. So, it contains the instructions for making one of the proteins on the outside of the virus called a spike protein. So the virus itself looks like a little ball, and it's got all these little spiky proteins sticking out all over it. Kind of looks like a koosh ball, right? So the mRNA vaccine gives your body the instructions for making that spike protein, just the spike protein. Your ribosomes see those instructions and go, oh, we just got another job order in, let's make this protein. So it makes a bunch of the protein. And then your immune system sees that protein and goes, wait a minute, this isn't one of ours, and learns to recognize this thing that does not belong in your body and destroy it. The reason why it's safe is because you're not actually introducing the virus into your body. You're introducing the instructions for making part of the virus. And those instructions have a very, very short shelf life. Remember last time I talked about how mRNA breaks down, it self-destructs. So the mRNA breaks down after a little while, and your body stops making the protein, and then that gives your immune system the chance to recognize that protein, destroy it, get it out of the body, and then the next time your body encounters the COVID-19 virus, it can recognize it.
So then that's why we need to get a new vaccine for every, we should be getting a new vaccine for every variant, because we had we know how to beat the proteins in variant 1, we'll say. But then variant 2 comes along, we have to relearn how to make the variant 2 proteins because they're slightly different.
Exactly. So as the virus changes over time, we have to develop a new vaccine to teach our body to recognize the new version of the virus. It's the same reason why you have to get a flu vaccine every year. It's not because the vaccine is only effective for a year. It's because the flu virus changes so rapidly that every year you're vaccinated against a new version of the virus.
And then I not only get sick from the flu vaccine, but I also tend to catch the flu virus that I wasn't inoculated against.
Yes, that's why you can still get the flu, even if you've had the flu vaccine, because you can get a strain of the flu that the vaccine doesn't protect against. And here's the thing about
it
that.
sucks.
So here's the thing about both of those things. So one, people are like, oh, but the vaccine makes you sick. Yes, you can have a reaction to a vaccine. The reaction that you're having is your immune system being activated. That's why you can get a vaccine and you end up getting a low-grade fever. The fever is your body thinking that you are experiencing an infection and trying to literally cook it out of your body by raising your internal body temperature to make it uncomfortable for the pathogen. The soreness is inflammation, which is part of your innate immunity. It's your body fighting what it thinks is an infection, essentially. And even if you could still get sick after having the vaccine, you're still increasing your chances of not getting really, really sick, like end up in the hospital sick. And that's especially important with the COVID-19 vaccine. Lots of people said, oh, I got the vaccine and I still got sick. Yes, but you have no idea how much sicker you would have been without the vaccine training your body how to fight that infection. Your body still has to fight the infection. If you encounter the COVID-19 virus and your immune system is able to completely wipe it out before you have a full-blown infection, that's great. You'll never even know that you were near the virus. You'll never know you were even exposed to it. On the other hand, if you do get a little bit sick, your body is still that much more effective at fighting the virus because it's been trained how to fight and you don't end up in the hospital on a ventilator.
And that was literally my experience when me and my buddies went on a golf trip to Scotland. It was, I mean, it was cold over there. It was wet. It was rainy, all the stuff that would normally make you sick. So we fully expected to get at least a little cold. And we were like, yeah, I got the little sniffles, not feeling 100%. We go to get back on the plane. And this was back when you had to get a negative test to come back into the US. And one of the guys goes out first and gets his COVID test, and he came back positive. And it turned out we all had COVID. And we were like, we had no freaking idea. We just thought we had like a mild case of the sniffles, but we were all vaccinated. And it was like the first or second strand. It was like whatever strand was going around after the third vaccine came out. So it was still like pretty deadly and pretty fierce. So you know, it's a good thing we had that, because again, I thought it was allergies on my part, you know, nothing serious. Yeah.
And that is the thing. A really effective vaccine, you may never even know that it's working, and that's the beauty of it. But it kept you from getting potentially hospitalized, you know?
Oh yeah.
And the studies that have been done on the vaccine since it's been released, the long-term studies tracing its effects over time, have shown that vaccinated people, when they do get COVID, end up getting hospitalized at much lower rates than people who are not vaccinated against COVID. The literature is out there. There's this idea that the development of the vaccine was somehow rushed, and so we don't really know if it's safe. I will say that, one, it was not rushed in that it was blown past any of the normal safeguards that we have in place for vaccines. Vaccines are tested rigorously, much, much more so than many other things that are out there on the market that people take for their health. And that's 100% intentional, and the COVID-19 vaccine was no exception to that. It was tested, and it had to go through all the same barriers to release that every other drug has to go through, every other vaccine has to go through. It was accelerated for release because we were in the middle of an emergency. And so that time and that money and that energy was all funneled directly into getting this vaccine safe and out on the market as soon as possible.
And I feel like that may have been the part that like freaked a lot of people out, because it was, I mean, the time from inception to production was a little bit shorter than a lot of things. But to your point, I mean, yes, it was still tested. It'll still put through everything. But when they first released it, they kept calling it experimental. But it's very common. And because I worked in a little bit of medical research, like doing paperwork for it and making sure everything was like federally like okay, you know, like passed the federal guidelines and met everything basically kosher with the FDA for the paperwork filing. Like it was in that final stage of experimentation, which is released on a mass scale. So they were still counting like, you know, it is research when the final product was put out. But at that point, the final product, like it's not going to change hardly anything at all from the last experimental stage to the final product being released for everybody. So it was released under like emergency protocols, but it was still in that final stage where there would have been thousands, if not tens of thousands of people getting it, with information going back to the FDA, which is what happened. I mean, they technically used us all as guinea pigs, but it was technically finished as well. So it wasn't. And that kind of goes with any medicine, like any shot you get, any medicine you take. If you're in a hospital and you have like an effect, it's called an adverse effect or a serious adverse effect, like they write back to the manufacturer and say this happened. Like if you take Tylenol and it makes you nauseous in a hospital, they're going to write back to the like whoever manufactures Tylenol and say, all right, this person had a stomach ache taking Tylenol. Like that never ends. So technically, like if you look at it, every medicine you're taking is in some form of experimental level, whether it's considered final release to the public or that last stage of experimentation. But they're not going to do like the small clinical trials where it's maybe 10, 20 people getting it and then release that to the public, because that could be completely catastrophic.
Yeah, no, it still had to go through all of the normal clinical trials, and testing anything on human beings is fraught with all kinds of different complications. And the things get released that still have very serious side effects. Any medication that you take has associated dangers with it. And vaccines are no exception, but the risk far outweighs the benefits, in particular for vaccines. I think vaccines probably get more rigorous testing than anything else that's available for you to take for your health. People were worried about a lot of different things, and I'm not going to speak to like the conspiracy theories, but I will speak to one concern that was out there because my mother brought it up to me, and I explained to her why this is actually not something that can happen. People were worried that by injecting genetic material into your body, you could somehow alter your own genome. And I already explained that your genome is separated from the machinery that turns the mRNA transcripts into proteins. It's locked in the vault, in the nucleus. mRNA does not go back into the nucleus and get turned back into DNA and reincorporated into your genome. There are no enzymes capable of doing that in the human cell. So you introduce this transcript into your body, your cells take it up, they make it into protein, and then it just disintegrates, it disappears. It never gets into contact with your own genome. So it's impossible for an mRNA vaccine to alter your genetic material in any way.
Yeah, and that was a concern a lot of people had, and I don't know if that has to do with like the similar naming of DNA versus RNA and people thinking they're related, but yeah, I don't. The worst thing I had was, I mean, when I got my vaccine, I went golfing right afterwards, and my shoulder was a little bit sore near the spot, and I grew a tail, but I mean, whatever. The tail's useful.
Tails are cute. Chicks are into it.
Yeah, it's been beneficial. Like, sure, it knocks over my coffee cup sometimes when I get up, but it's a mild inconvenience to pay for having a freaking tail. Like, it's great.
Yeah, I didn't get the tail side effect. You're lucky.
Oh, that sucks. No, but I mean, fortunately, my glow's still there, so that's still
that's
there.
important.
But yeah, very important. But yeah, it's like I don't know. I didn't give any credence to the conspiracy theories, but again, I had that safety net of working in the medical research field, so I was like, yeah, obviously it's going to be okay. But I mean, if you look at the side effects reported from the vaccine, they are not terrible.
No,
like if you look at
pretty much
like
standard
half the medications
for any vaccine.
Yeah. Like, if you look at half the medications you see on TV, they have that whole laundry list that they read, like the Micro Machine Man at the God World, like the Micro Machine Man at the end of it, where like, this may cause high blood pressure, it may cause depression, it may cause loss of eyesight, it may cause explosive diarrhea, it may cause erectile dysfunction, it may cause it may cause an explosive heart if you take it in context with another blood pressure medication. Even though this is a blood pressure medication, it could also blow up your veins and make your head explode like the guy on Scanners. Like,
right.
It's ridiculous.
And that's not to say that all medications are dangerous, only that all medications carry some risk, just like any medical treatment carries some risk. Surgeries carry risk. You know, antibiotics carry risk. There's risks involved, but if you look at the arc of history and the benefits that vaccines have brought to human beings, I mean, it's hard to understate how important the development of vaccines has been to human health. It has changed the course of human history. People used to die from diseases that are routinely vaccinated against and have been all but eradicated. And if you want to see the effects that vaccines have had on human history, all you have to do is go into an old graveyard and start looking for baby graves and see how many children died before reaching adulthood, before reaching puberty, from things that are now unheard of. You know, kids died from all kinds of horrific infections that now we don't have to worry about because we know how to prevent them. Vaccines
and going back And going back to what you said, kind of alluding to like the smallpox, where you were talking about that and people getting smallpox and dying, like we're not trying to say that nobody didn't die from getting the COVID vaccine, because obviously there are going to be some side effects. Some people experience swelling, difficulty breathing, whatever the case may be. Yes, some people died as a result of taking the vaccine. Some people had nasty side effects as a result of taking the vaccine. You know, we're not, I don't think we're trying to cover that up at all, but I guess what we're trying to say is with any sort of medication, as we pointed out earlier, there's going to be risks. There's going to be things that can happen to people, but the risk of that happening is very minute. And odds are, if you had those side effects from the vaccine, you were probably going to, if you got COVID, you're going to die anyway. So, like, I hate to be morbid, but that's kind of how it rolls.
We can't, without having more of the data in front of me, I don't want to make any broad sweeping statements, but I will say that the number of lives saved greatly outweighs the number of lives lost when it comes to immunization. And there's one more thing that I want to bring up, because I kept hearing about it during the pandemic, and that was, why can't we naturally develop herd immunity against COVID instead of using a vaccine? The thing is, herd immunity, so in order to explain what herd immunity is where you have a certain percentage of the population, and the numbers can vary depending on the infection you're talking about, but it has to be more than the majority. Like we're talking 80, 85, 90% of the population is immune against a particular disease. And because of that, the spread of that disease throughout the population is drastically limited, so that people who are not immune are protected by those who are. You cannot achieve herd immunity by allowing a disease to course through an entire population. You only achieve herd immunity through immunization, through actual active immunization. So imagine, for example, I would tell these numbers to my students. Let's say, and I'm gonna do the calculations right now on my phone. There's like 325 million people in the United States right now. And let's say that in order to achieve herd immunity, 80% of the population has to be immune against COVID. So multiply that by 80%. All right, so that's 260 million people have to have gotten exposed to COVID naturally, according to this natural herd immunity idea. 260 million people. Let's say it has a death rate of 1%, which is low, right? That's a low estimate. That means 2,600,000 people had to die of COVID in order for us to achieve this so-called herd immunity. We lost 1 million people to COVID with the vaccine. I mean, and that is also not taking into account that as this disease moves through the population, it's going to continue to change and evolve and mutate into new strains. The reason why we have to keep coming up with new COVID vaccines, and we had to continue to do it while the pandemic was, I don't want to say still going on, because it's still going on, but while it was really full blown, is because we opened everything up too soon and allowed the disease to spread fast enough so that it could continue to mutate and evolve beyond the capabilities of the vaccine. So as you're allowing this disease to run rampant through the population, it's changing and evolving within the host. And now you have to develop a new vaccine to counter the new mutation. You're constantly in this arms race. Whereas if we limited the spread of it sufficiently and had really locked down, then we would not have developed all of these different variations of it as it spread throughout the population, as people were, hosting these super spreader events, these parties and big crowds. You're allowing this virus to spread throughout the population and continue to change. So you'll never achieve herd immunity by just letting a virus spread through a population, because even if you could get a sufficient number of people infected with it who develop some kind of natural immunity against it, which it's dubious as to whether that's even achievable without a vaccine, you're also allowing the virus to continually mutate and change as it spreads. So it's just not going to happen.
And if you want number, and I'm not going to read them off right now because it's like there's a lot of numbers, but I'm on the WHO website. The death rate has gone down like insanely. I mean, I don't want to. It says number of COVID-19 deaths reported to WHO world 28 days to 16 November 2025. I'm not entirely sure what that means, but there's 291 deaths like across the world in whatever time period. Like it's I don't know what more we can say. Like we still wouldn't be with that good in numbers if the vaccine had never come about.
No, absolutely not.
Like, I mean, herd immunity doesn't count if you wipe out half the population.
Right. And you're sacrificing as well the most vulnerable people in the population. I think that there is this prevailing idea right now, thanks to our new Secretary of Health, that, weak people will just die and strong people survive. And that, one, is really simplistic, but two, it just takes vulnerable people, the disabled people, the elderly, immunocompromised people, very small children whose immune systems are still developing. It takes all of those people and just, files them under, well, who cares? So, not to get too dark on our fun podcast here, but it is extremely ableist. Or if you don't like using the ism words, just say it's heartless. It's heartless to say that all of these people are disposable, and that it's fine because healthy people will survive. Healthy people won't get sick. Cool. What about people who are not healthy? Do they not deserve to live too?
Mm-hmm.
I guess not.
No, it's yeah, it's crazy, but I guess in the end, what we can say is really there is nothing to fear. The science is there, and we'll debate anybody who says otherwise. And
come to my house.
Well, I heard that Shower Guy was telling me that his wife is her name's Conspiracy Karen, so she might have a couple words to say on this episode.
Oh, Karen.
Yeah, she's. I can hear her screaming from next door. Like it's kind of crazy.
Well, the bottom line is that anybody who says that they don't want to be around, or there's like this whole like dating movement now. I won't date anyone with mRNA in them. You're going to be a very lonely person, because we all have mRNA in us, and it's good actually. And if you've ever been vaccinated, you don't have the COVID mRNA in you anymore. That stuff has a half-life of literally hours. So you can calm down, you can take a deep breath. It's going to be okay. We're here to explain to you that, the science is good. And it's all there to keep you safe.
And when I was researching like a little bit of stuff for the song that I wrote for the show, I saw this thing called water bomb RNA. And it's an innovative cancer immunotherapy concept using mRNA to deliver instructions for making aquaporin proteins, whatever the AQP. I think that goes back to the letters you mentioned, causing tumor cells to swell and die via an osmotic water bomb effect. So I had.
Oh, I can explain how that.
I had that's like, yeah. Well, I want to float something on you that I had a thought many years ago and wondered if it might be more science fiction, but I thought that like many years, and we're talking like college, high school area, I was like, why don't we just create like a series of nano robots to go in and maybe reprogram genes or cells or whatever to fight this sort of thing? And this, like the mRNA vaccines sound almost like that sort of thing. Like it's obviously not injecting people with nanobots, but it's sort of the same thing where it's reprogramming like cells and stuff to be able to fight all sorts of things. And this water bomb thing sounds interesting.
Well, you're basically giving the cell instructions to make a porin is a channel that goes through the cell membrane. So it sounds like you're giving the cell instructions to make this porin, and then that porin allows a whole bunch of water into the cell, which then causes the cell to burst. So you kill the cancer by making it explode, which is very cool.
Oh, cool. So it is literally a bomb. Nice.
Yeah. That is a very cool idea. And then there's also a different RNA technology which does involve editing the genes is this CRISPR-Cas9 stuff that I mentioned last time, where you are actually going in and editing a genome in order to fight things like congenital diseases that you're born with that are encoded in your genome that can be very debilitating and deadly. But that is a separate thing from this mRNA vaccine tech. It involves a whole other type of technology, but they are using it right now to cure HIV, which is super cool. Because I remember when we were kids, HIV was either, depending on who you were talking to, reading
you get it from a toilet seat.
Yeah, well, it was either the butt of a joke or a death sentence. Really, it was both.
Yeah,
right?
well, I think what changed it for our entire generation, and I can point this back to one thing: Magic Johnson on Nick News. After he got infected, that was massive. Everybody our age watched that. All our parents, and I guess it was smart to have our parents watch it, and it made it kind of real, but also not scary because you thought you could go around getting it from sharing a spoon with somebody or sitting on the same toilet seat as somebody who had HIV. And Magic and Linda Ellerby really did a great job of I'd say even look it up on YouTube today to make it kind of less scary. And I know there's been a lot of work that's come along in treatment of HIV, and it's not really the death sentence that it once was.
Yeah, I mean,
so
HIV
it's not the death sentence.
Yeah, HIV used to just be oh, you're going to die, and it's just a matter of how long it's going to take. And now people live with it, and they live a really long time. There's preventative vaccines now. If you're a person who is at risk of contracting HIV, you can get a preventative vaccine. We didn't have anything like that before. There's drugs that you can take to manage it if you have it, so that you don't transmit it to your partner, which is amazing. So
Charlie Sheen's doing fine.
Or is the prevention for HIV, is it a vaccine or is it a medication? I forget. I think it's
I see commercials for it all the time. I don't remember what they call it.
I'm actually not sure if it's injected or if it's a pill that you take, but it's out there. There's preventative medicine for it now, which just didn't exist before. And which is wonderful. I mean, we could probably have a whole conversation about the HIV pandemic and how that was mishandled in the 80s. I think it's an important thing to talk about because we don't really talk about it much now, but it was a big deal then.
You lived through it.
Yeah, yeah. But a lot of people didn't. The queer community for sure lost a lot of people to it that, would be elders now in the community who would be, people are always oh, how come all these gay and trans people are suddenly appearing? It's well, a lot of the older folks are dead because of HIV.
Yeah.
So
Freddie Mercury, one of the biggest.
We lost Freddie Mercury to that. What an incredible talent, right? A lot of artists. Rock Hudson died.
Yep.
Yeah.
A lot of them. But going back to the water bomb thing, going back to the water bomb thing, I was just Googling and I found that if you're ever in Bali, there's a water park called Water Bomb, and they're aiming to be completely natural by 2033.
Oh.
Yeah,
cool.
I'm looking it up right now. Yeah, it looks nice. It's in Bali. It's got a couple water slides. I don't know how often I'll be getting to Bali because that's kind of far.
I've never been to Bali, but maybe we can get. Maybe if the podcast ever makes it really big, if we get a lot of patrons, they can send us to Bali.
You know what? If we go to Bali, we have to sing Some Enchanted Evening or something from South Pacific. Bloody Mary is the girl I love. Bloody Mary is the girl I love. Now ain't that too damn bad? What a great show. I was in that in high school.
Man, right out of my hair.
Out of my hair. Well, speaking of music, what a transition. Wow, I didn't do that on purpose. What a transition.
That was perfect.
Let me cue up and play the song for you that I wrote, and you can give me your thoughts on it.
Please
Sound
do.
Good?
Mm-hmm.
All right, this is called Everybody Wants to Code the Gene. The tune may sound a little bit familiar. Welcome to your cell. There's no turning back. Even while we sleep, ribosomes will read the code with great precision. Build the proteins with a mission. Everybody wants to code the gene. It's a single strand with a master plan. From the DNA comes the message for the ribosome to follow. Start at AUG, no sorrow. Everybody wants to code the. There's a lab where the light won't find you. mRNA and violence right behind you. Lipid shells help it sneak inside you. So glad we synthesized it. So fast we realized it. Everybody wants to code the gene. I can't stand the disinformation. mRNA's not transformation. Everybody wants to code the. Say that it rewrites your very being, but that's not what you're really seeing. Everybody wants to code the gene. All for healing and for science, built on data, not defiance. Everybody wants to code the gene. All right, so yeah, Everybody Wants to Code the Gene. What do you think? How was it accurate?
I love it.
What grade do you give me?
I give that a solid. I'm gonna call it a solid A minus.
Oh, I'll take it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
One of the best science grades I've ever gotten.
Was it perfect? No. Was it entertaining? Absolutely. I mean, you entertain the professor, you get a lot of perky points for that.
Well, that's good. I survive on perky points rather than like actual academic points anyway. So, hooray! Well, that one's going to be available on our Spotify. I'm going to upload that as a single once I figure out how to do that. I'm also going to add Golgi Apparatus to the playlist that we made for this series of episodes. Lauren, I don't know if you have anything to add to that playlist. If you thought of anything, or
Oh God, no! And I feel like I should have by now, but my brain was taken up by Thanksgiving, and having to
That's
take
fair.
part in 2 Thanksgivings over the course of my 4-day weekend. It did not feel like I had a day off really at all. It was just absolute insanity. And now prepping for this conference in New Orleans, I just have like zero bandwidth in my head. So. If I think of anything, I will definitely add it. But at the moment, I got nothing. Sorry.
no, that's all good. And if you guys can think of anything to add to this playlist, add it in the comments below. Our next series of episodes, I don't quite know what we're going to do, so we're going to talk that one over and figure it out.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you guys for tuning in and hanging out with us. And Lauren, thank you for the education, the amazing education of mRNA and
My
science and
pleasure.
DNA and genes.
I think the next topic should be a little less heavy. You know, maybe we should do something a little less controversial, a little bit more fun. I don't know.
Yeah, we could do something like that. Maybe
it's sad that mRNA is controversial, but it shouldn't be, but it is.
Yeah, it's a political hot topic, but no, all good. Okay, cool. Well, we'll figure something out, and you'll hear it here on Lauren and PJ Do Science. But thank you guys for tuning in. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and tell everybody you know about it. And soon we're going to be expanding beyond Spotify once I figure that one out. We'll have social media once we figure that one out.
Yay.
But we're growing. We're growing. So thank you for listening, and have a wonderful couple weeks, guys. And we'll see you in a little bit. Say goodnight, Lauren.
Good night, Lauren.